I am John Brice with Football Scoop, and we are joining you on the Our Coaching Network podcast. We're pleased to be joined today by Fresno State Offensive Coordinator Pat McCann. Pat, welcome to the show. Thanks for carving some time out for us.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. A heck of a start. You've been at Fresno State since the reboot with Coach Tedford at the end of 2021, going into the 22 season. You ascended earlier this year to the role of offensive coordinator. You guys are off to a 4-0 start. I think winners of 13 in a row. What's it like to come in and immediately have that sort of success?
Well, I think one of the big things was last year we didn't have immediate success. We started off and we were 1-4, and we sat in there in a team meeting back then at that time, and Coach Tedford said, "Hey, the Mountain West champions are in this room." And then we ripped off 9 straight, including the bowl game, and won it. So to go from 1-4 to 10-4, I think it taught our guys a lot just about it's week to week. It really is, and so that's been continued to kind of be our focus, as a team. But I think last year taught the remaining guys that left over from that team, a big lesson.
You're still a young coach. You had some great success at Eastern Washington and some other spots, but when you're sitting in a room as part of a staff that's 1-4, and you hear the head man, a guy who's had as much success as Coach Tedford, look around the room and say, "Hey, the conference champs are sitting in this room." What does that not only do for the players, but what does that do for you coaches as well?
Well, the thing that I took from it was just the unwavering leadership. I mean, we didn't change. He didn't change how he approached things. It was the same intensity. It wasn't like we ratcheted up or backed off and gave it. We just kept doing what we were doing, knowing that the product was going to come if we just stuck with the process. And I think that was the thing I took from that more than anything, was just the unwavering leadership.
It's interesting to me. You guys lost one of the, I think, the most exciting players in college football of the last few years. Of course, you already had familiarity with super exciting football players because you had Eric Barriere, and I was writing about him all the way back in like 2021 at Football Scoop because he was lighting up FCS ball. But you've had this seamless transition on not only at the quarterback position, but for yourself calling the offense. What is the key to that?
A good player. I mean, at the end of the day, Mikey Keene, he is, he's really sharp, and he picked up what we do. And we had a good quarterback competition, leading into that. Logan Fife did a really nice job kind of pushing Mikey. So I think that what it got was, it kind of got elevated play from that room, just with the competition. And I think that's where it all starts. We all run some version of the same plays. We do, and it's whether it's timing or details to the play, it's all how it's how it's coached. But it really comes down to good players make better coaches.
It's kind of becoming or emerging as maybe the year of the transfer quarterback in college football, and certainly Mikey is playing among the best. You obviously have Caleb Williams in year 2 at USC, but he's a transfer. Shedeur Sanders at Colorado, Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. How different is that dynamic for you versus when you first started coaching just a few years ago?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the nature. It's not just quarterback; it's kind of every position. I mean, last year we had Nico Remigio come in, transfer from Cal, and I think we tripled his, the most catches he'd ever had in a season. I think we might have tripled it almost. And so I think that you get different guys that go for different reasons, whether, for different reasons they transfer. And, we've had guys leave here and go have success other places, so I think that that's just the nature of it in general. I mean, it's so fluid all the time that I think that's, I just think that it does kind of regardless of position.
We've alluded to it. You're a young coach. You played the game. So now with this new dynamic of the transfer portal, which still relatively new, but it's certainly an omnipresent part of college football now. How do you go about that? What are, not just physically, but mentally, what are some of the traits you look to identify when you're first maybe speaking to a guy in the portal?
Well, I think that Fresno State in particular, there's a certain type of type of character that really kind of fits here. It's something where our guys work really hard, and it's something where in fall camp it's going to get up in the 108, 109, 112, and you kind of have to have a certain toughness and grit about you to really just survive here. And I think that's one of the things that I think if you were to ask the guys that do transfer in here, I think that was what they would say, is that, like, man, like, this place, like, the guys work. They're not complaining. They're not guys. I mean, they just do it. And that's kind of the culture that's been established here, a long time ago. And I think that's part of the Fresno State allure, in my opinion. It's just there's a certain grit and a certain. So when you start going in the transfer portal, you got to really identify, like, okay, why is this guy in the portal? Like, what are his reasons? What are his motives? Is it a guy that just can't get on the field somewhere, so he's looking for an easier path? Well, this isn't the spot for it. Is it a guy that, is leaving for the right reasons, wants opportunity to compete, knows that it's not going to be handed to him? Like, you gotta kind of poke and prod until you find the right guy in that regard.
It's interesting. Grit, obviously an intangible, kind of like toughness. How do you define grit or toughness, and how do then you find a way to suss that out when you're first talking to guys?
I think the main thing is just the transparency piece. I mean, we are very open about the fact that it's not just going to be handed to you. We're very open about the fact that we're going to work, and our practices are not short, and our guys take a lot of reps. We play a lot of football in practice, and so we try and be as open as we can about that part of it. And really, I think that's where it starts, is just because you can sit there and go, like, oh yeah, coach, I got you. Like, we work hard too. It's like, no, like, it's going to be demanding, and you kind of just see who kind of shies away from that. Maybe the next time you call them and they don't pick up your call, or whatever, it's like, okay, hey, maybe I hit the right button there to kind of fish that out of them. But I think that's part of it, is just trying to find it's just asking the right questions.
Well, I do want to cover a variety of topics, while also not taking up too much of your time. But on the note of your team success and program success, it is 13 wins in a row, including 3 of your more recent wins are against Power 5 foes. You finished last year with the win against Washington State in the bowl game. You've already gone on the road. I live in South Bend, so you were just down the road from me a few weeks ago when you got that season opening win at Purdue, and then you've also knocked off Arizona State. How much does that continue to just reinforce what you guys are preaching as coaches on a day in, day out basis, when the players do see those tangible results and they see them at the sport's top level?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to just even, the Jim Sweeney and Pat Hill days, though. I mean, it's nothing new for Fresno State to, I mean, we got a pretty good, kind of top teams or Power 5 teams, collection going over the years. I mean, that's something that exists here long before any of us ever, really got here, and it's the whole anybody, anytime, anywhere mentality that's part of this place. And so I think probably what it does is it just reinforces anybody, anytime, anywhere, to the players, because then it's like, hey man, what, but now these guys, they just go, hey, I'm part of this. And then it just keeps kind of passing on. They're not surprised when they do it.
As a coach, how much does that appeal to you, that anytime, anywhere, any place? Especially, I think you started your college career maybe at the JUCO level and then went on to the 4-year institution. So how much does that maybe appeal, and also speak directly to you not taking the path most traveled?
Yeah. And, it's funny. I wouldn't change my path for anything, and it hasn't been easy. And so, I guess that's a little bit, it just kind of, I mean, at one point, I stocked grocery shelves overnight, just to make ends meet when early on in my career. So, like, for me, that's kind of, I guess, something that I relate to a little bit. It makes me something that I'm hook, line, and sinker on it, anybody, anytime, anywhere, just because I think that's, I think that's all part of the process. That's part of getting to where you want to go, is you can't back down from stuff like that.
That's awesome that you share that you stock groceries overnight early in your career. What do you remember about that time? Is that something you've also shared with your players as they go on this journey with you?
Yeah, I think that my experience with that, I mean, I was a young coach. I was in like my second and third year, and me and my now wife, we had our first son, and I had to do what I had to do. I knew I didn't want to get out of it. I knew I wanted to coach football. So, so I stuck the juice aisle at Hannaford's there in Easton, Massachusetts, 3 nights a week. And then I'd roll right into the office, on several of those days, coming off of that shift. And it's just something where just kind of more probably the thing I took from it now is you just got to do what you got to do. Like the job's got to get done, and so that's probably my main takeaway, I would say.
So that's very clearly an element that shaped you on your career path. And as we move a little more big picture and not directly on the field as we talk, what are some other elements that have shaped you on your coaching path? I know you've been at UC Davis, you've been at UNI, a couple of really storied, traditionally powerhouse programs. Just how have you evolved on this coaching journey and what has shaped you?
Yeah, I think one is, I never like technically was a GA. I kind of, even though I had GA type of duties, I've always had the receivers as a position group. And so probably just as much as anything, it's the banked reps of coaching. I think that's something where I think it's just like anything. You coach your players, you're telling them they need to work on their craft. I think coaching's a craft. Like I think that's been a huge part of it for me is that I've always been coaching. And so I've taken a lot of lessons from that. I've been fortunate to be around some really good football coaches, whether it's head coaches or other assistants. And I've really taken the time over the years to kind of reflect on certain things that I took from whether it's from those coaches or from those programs. Like there's a lot of parallels between whether it's Northern Iowa or Eastern Washington and Fresno State. Like there's a reason. Success leaves clues, and to me, there's a reason why. But I kind of take that from some of the programs. Not just the coaches, but just kind of seeing like, man, like Northern Iowa doesn't care who you are. Like they're there to win the game. Eastern Washington doesn't care who you are. They're there to win the game. So there's some similarities and some parallels. And so I've just taken the time over the years just kind of reflect on some of those things, and I try not to miss lessons, when they're there.
Absolutely. You referenced the stocking shelves. You referenced taking the lessons along the way, having your first son. You've got 2 sons now with your wife, Andrea. What has this coaching journey been like from a family standpoint, and how much does she make this thing go? Because it takes a special kind of person to be a coach's wife.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. First of all, I mean, I'm really lucky and fortunate to have her in my life. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy on the kids. Hasn't been easy on her. There has been, on one or two instances where, I've moved out ahead of time and they've finished the school year and, we're apart for a few months. And, so that's been a challenge kind of naturally. But yeah, I honestly, I don't know how my wife does it. I mean, on Saturdays right now, our kids play, our 2 boys have football games at the same time, literally at 2 different places. I don't know how she does it, but it gets done, somehow, some way. And, she's super resilient herself. I think that's one of the things that, just from a character standpoint with her is, her independence and resiliency, with things. And so I give her a lot of credit for this because it's been a journey, and she's been there from the stocking shelves all the way to where I'm at now, and hasn't wavered either.
We had Idaho coach Jason Eck on a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I like asking various coaches, whether it's this podcast or getting to know guys otherwise, maybe what's your craziest moving story or what's been your most eventful moving story? Because it's usually not real smooth. It's usually not real planned out, and you typically have to get from point A to point B in a pretty hurry.
Yeah, I think that if I went back, there was when we got let go at UC Davis, when the staff got turned over there, and I didn't get a job coming out of January or whatever, and we're sitting there in Davis, California, which is not cheap, and we weren't making a bunch of money at Davis anyways, let alone not having a job. So we packed up and we moved all our stuff. We're both from the same hometown in Olympia, Washington, so we packed up and we basically moved in my parents' basement. Couple weeks went by and I get offered a job at Idaho State, as the receivers coach. So I went there, and I literally got there. They weren't going to come right away. They're going to finish the school year. And I was there for 4 days. Crazy story happened. End up as getting offered the receiver job at Northern Iowa. So I went to Pocatello for 4 days. On the 5th day, I was on a plane going to Cedar Falls, Iowa. And then like 2 months later, my family joins me out there in Cedar Falls. So
That's incredible. Yeah, there's so many coaching stories like that though, because you don't know when the phone call is coming, you don't know when the next opportunity is coming. It takes a special type of family to be able to navigate that. So obviously, congrats to you guys. You get named offensive coordinator, I guess maybe in January of this year, certainly right at the beginning of this year. How has that changed for you, and what's important for you off the field as the offensive coordinator? What do your guys have to know about you off the field?
Well, I think one of the things that I try to be conscious of this is just making sure that it's not just the receivers that are getting my attention, that I'm interacting with other guys and I'm interacting with the whole offense. And, so that's been something that I've been trying to be conscious of, and then just really kind of philosophically, like, I'm like really big on playing to our strengths and playing to the players. And, I think that giving them the opportunity to give feedback and, I think that that's just something where just probably the overall interaction with the players, and make sure that they feel like they're being listened to. And, I think that's a big emphasis for me.
What did you guys have hit the ground running, 4-0, new quarterback, but you're still throwing for over 300 yards a game. You're running for 115 yards a game there. So that's an impressive blend of run and pass. What did you do foundationally in between maybe spring ball and the start of preseason camp over those key months? What'd you do foundationally to give yourself a chance for success and to give your offense a chance for success?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I did during that time was just kind of identify what I thought we did well in spring, or what, if we just kind of sink more time into it, what can we be good at? And then, I probably spent more than anything, of just kind of making sure, just whether it's organizationally, and in terms of just making sure that I was prepared, double and triple checking things, going into camp, going, okay, do I have these situations covered? Uh, you know, what is the install flow? Does it make sense for the quarterback? Does it make sense for the whole overall offense? And so I really spent probably more time just on the organizational piece than anything.
You guys, I saw the game against Purdue. I've seen some of your other highlights. Your guys play really hard for you. They play really hard on both sides of the ball. But again, you're a first year offensive coordinator. What do you attribute those guys giving it all like that, time after time, snap after snap, and to be able to pull that out of them right away?
That's a cultural thing. That's Fresno State football. I would love to take credit for that, but like you said, it's both sides of the ball. It's special teams. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, they're on our kickoff team. I mean, we just run by guys at times, and they start covering the kick with us. I mean, it's something where our guys play really hard. That's a cultural, foundational thing here at Fresno State.
Speaking of Fresno State and being a Fresno State thing, we've talked about the 3 recent Power 5 wins, the 13 consecutive wins. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the big picture landscape of college football. What kind of statement is Fresno State continuing to make under Coach Tedford, yourself, and your players and everybody else involved as to what you guys are or what you can be on the college football landscape?
Anybody, anytime, anywhere. I think that that's something where, when you look over the years, I mean, just whether it's the conference championships, whether it's the Power 5 wins, whether it's the All-Americans, the draft picks, I think that, Fresno State football is clearly on the map, in that regard. And so, I think that half of it is just us understanding that, we have a responsibility to, sustain the standard that was set before us, here at Fresno State.
Wrapping up here pretty soon with Fresno State offensive coordinator Pat McCann, the reigning Our Coaches Network offensive coordinator of the week. A couple of not necessarily football specific questions here. Number one, What's something about you, Pat, that maybe people don't know or don't realize? And you said you've known for a really long time you wanted to be a football coach. You didn't want to give it up. But if you couldn't be a football coach, what would you be doing?
Man, I don't know, but I'd figure it out. You know, honestly, it's something where I'd figure something out. Uh, I do know that I hate sitting around, and I could not do like a desk job, so I would have to do something that I don't know, some type of outdoors thing or something that at least allows me to be outside some. I am pretty passionate about just kind of what it just disadvantaged people. Like I was pretty I didn't grow up rich, but I was very privileged, like I didn't have, a lot of needs growing up, and something that, uh, I do care about the fact that there's certain kids that just don't have the resources, that other people have, and they don't get opportunities because of that. So maybe something in trying to help that sector, just as far as just something we're trying to give back. I don't know.
That's awesome. It's obvious that you're making that kind of impact right now with your football team, with the offense of the Fresno State Bulldogs. It's been really fun visiting with you, Pat, from stocking grocery shelves to now stocking points on scoreboards. You're doing a heck of a job, and you're very kind to visit with us today.
I appreciate your time.
All right. For Pat McCann, Fresno State Offensive Coordinator, good luck this week. Once again, appreciate the time here. I'm John Brice of Football Scoop, wrapping up this edition of our Coaching Networks podcast.